All right. Hi, I'm Dr. Jodie Peacock from Exceptional ND. And here with me today is Dr. Lauren Hungler. She is an amazing naturopathic doctor. During the pandemic, she actually moved her practice from Guelph to Kingsville. So now is on a 7-acre farm where she has apple orchard and several other fruit trees that she can tell us all about. She's currently running her practice virtually and has obviously made some big transitions over the last few years. So we wanted to bring her on just to give everyone a kind of another chance to see what other NDs are doing in their communities and how we're connecting and how we can support each other. So welcome today, Lauren. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
So we just want to start with the basics. So what made you want to become a naturopath?
And I always wish I had some super sexy story here. So hopefully someone can identify with me where I went to university. I was a science nerd. I loved nutrition. I loved immunology. I loved biochemistry. When I was in 4th year undergrad at University of Guelph, I took a semester on membrane biochemistry. So we did a whole semester on the physiology of the phospholipid bilayer. And I was loved every moment of it. And so when I went to look at what I was going to be when I grew up, I think I did what most of us do, where it was do I want to be a physio? Do I want to be a chiro? Do I want to be in the allied health professional space? Do I want to be a family doctor? And so kind of was triaging that. And my sister-in-law actually told me about naturopathic medicine. I'd never really been exposed to it, but when I went and looked it up and was this is really cool. We can incorporate all these pieces of health into one aspect of care and actually get people feeling better. And I think it really was a driving force that I could incorporate all these pieces. Cause I did a year as a physio assistant. And if I saw one more knee or one more hip, I was I don't know how people do this as a career. I wanted to just die. So naturopathic medicine was that avenue to you could do thyroid health, you could do fertility, you could do pregnancy. There were so many avenues of care that you could approach and different ways that you could approach care that really resonated with me. And then I think even in 4th year, we had an interesting health experience for my family. My nephew was actually diagnosed with autism. And so we kind of rallied the forces and we kind of put in tons of naturopathic and functional medicine approaches. And I think the power of what naturopathic medicine really could be really showed itself to me when I was in 4th year. So I think I got into it a little bit more naive. I was just this looks really cool. But once I kind of got into it, and even once I'd been in it for a few years, really could understand the power of what we do and how we can really affect change and move the needle on people's health effectively.
And so right now, what's kind of getting you excited about naturopathic medicine?
Which a question I was super open-ended. What am I thinking here? And I think the really cool part about naturopathic medicine, and even what Exceptional ND does, is that it lets us into different ways that people practice as well, but that your learning never ends. And I think as people who have been in school for 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of postgrad, we all in some capacity love to learn. I think that's what naturopathic medicine really is at its core, right? Is continually learning all these new approaches and understanding the intricacies of how the body works. And so I don't think it's necessarily just one thing, because I feel I do a few different CEs, and each week I'm holy moly, who knew that all this new research and new approach could be coming out of it. And you can be in practice for 10 years, you could be in practice for 20 years, and your practice is going to be ever evolving. And I think that that's a really gorgeous part about naturopathic medicine, where I feel conventionally we get very, very stuck and it's very reductionist viewing. I think naturopathic, we get to look outside the box all the time. And I think that that's just always so cool.
That's a great way of looking at it. And I think, I think we're all lifelong learners, right? And that is such a great part of our medicine, is you learn from everybody you talk to, you can incorporate things, you don't have a box you have to stay in, which is the amazing part of our practice, right? So
and we get to try new things, right? Where someone's ashwagandha worked really well. And so you start playing and practicing with that in care. And you're wow, this is a really cool avenue that maybe I didn't practice with before, but now you've got this extra layer.
No, it's great. Mm-hmm. And what things are you kind of working on now? What's getting you excited and getting you out of bed in the morning?
Yes. So as you said, I run a micro clinic. So I run totally virtually. So as of 2020, I left my brick and mortar. I was in an integrative practice for 8 years and kind of left, which was exciting and scary and challenging. And so now I run a totally virtual practice. And so I think it's coming into understanding of like the intricacies of like what that is and how that runs and how you can run it fairly leanly currently, and like what that can look like. And so what I've kind of discovered is that when we're doing so much work online, a lot of the components of care have to be done visually, right? And so 65% of our patients are going to be visual learners. And I think part of what we need to be focused on is putting their health metrics into ways that they can visually see and that they get these like big dopamine hits from, right? Where we're like, ooh, I'm excited, I'm motivated, putting out care plans and things like that. And so I've created a database or a library for naturopathic doctors. It's called the Healthy AF Template Vault. And basically what I'm doing is trying to incorporate those practitioner-based items and take homes that we all send home, but they're white label so that you can brand them to you. You can put your logo on them. We can do all the really great things that we do clinically, but put it into a way that our patients actually want to look at and actually want to understand and be excited about. At one point I had a patient who just brought me their dietitian's recommendation. It was like 8 pages and it was like an 8-page document. It was beautiful, had great recommendations. And I was like, I don't want to read this. And like, I'm a practitioner. And so it really kind of lit the light bulb in my head where I was like, I need to go back to my patient plans. I need to look at like, what am I handing out to my patients so that they're actually going to use it? Because I think when it comes to like clinical outcomes, it's directly related to like how engaged your patient is. And I think that engagement is really important. And so it's trying to find a way that we can engage our patients so they're excited about their friggin' health and about their changes, and not just like us talking over their head. Cause I think we're very good at making people feel a smidge overwhelmed. So trying to take some of those pieces and really drill them down so that they're understandable, and we can really kind of send home those like health changes that we want them to accomplish, but they're more likely to do because it makes sense and it's something that's like visually appealing and makes it like pretty again.
Well, and I think your point when we were kind of talking about this before, you're like, a lot of like holistic nutritionists, for example, are really good at doing this, right? Like they give their patients something that is like easy to follow. It's visually, looks very simple. And so when you were showing me a lot of your templates, it's like, wow, like this does make it so much easier, right? And the fact that like I don't spend a lot of time in Canva and doing design stuff, like that's not my jam. So when you kind of brought that forward, I was like, wow, this makes it so easy. You can just download these templates, you put on, your own logo and your own stuff, and then you can have those for patients. And some of the ones like with labs and stuff where you could plug in their actual lab values, then they've got that as a record, and they know, again, like the way that kind of that one was set up was to help with your treatment plan, right? Like these are our lab parameters now. This is where we're trying to go with them so that it really set goals for patients, right? In a very tangible way. And then that's going to be a reason why they're going to come back, right? Because they're like, okay, my labs are not where they need to be yet. What else do I need to be doing? So I think from a practice management standpoint, yes, it's big, right? Like it's how many people have patients that come once or twice and then fall off, right? And so having, a way that you're expressing, this is our plan, short term, this is our medium term, and this is our kind of long-term goals, gives them a reason why they're coming back to see us, right?
Yes, exactly. So those are, so I call them our patient-centered treatment plans. And so that's basically the idea is it's almost like an ebook or a guide where it's like, this is where we're starting. These are your big problems. These are your meds and your supplements. This is your current lab work, but where I kind of want you to go. And then it goes through, your treatment timeline. So when do you expect to see them? When do we want to recalibrate and relook at your labs and do a reassessment? What do, like when we talk about it in the exceptional ND, it's like, what are your 4 lenses? Same idea. Like, what's your methodology of care? How are you approaching someone's case consistently so they know what steps to triage through to know how they're going to get better. And then I put a resources page in there too, as well. So it's like, are there other people you refer to? Is there other stores or other online spaces that you want to refer patients to? I use mine as like a recipe guide as well. So it's meant to be really multifaceted, multifunctional, so that you could take it and start using it with your patients like tomorrow.
Yeah, which is so helpful, right?
Yes, because we don't have time. Like I've done it over the past like many years. I joke with my friend that because Canva started in 2013, I've had my account since 2014. I think I got an email right at the beginning where it was like, you're one of our first 10,000 people to sign up. So I was like a quick start on the Canva train. So I can move my way around Canva pretty adaptably and pretty quickly now. So I love it and it's fun, and it's trying to kind of like take the headache, the frustration, like pain in the ass where you're like, why don't these boxes line up? Taking that out of like your hands and like having it all ready to go so that it's quick and out the door.
Yeah, which I think is great.
Mhm.
And kind of getting back to kind of treatment modalities, what's your, I mean, now that you're virtual, it may have changed. What's kind of your favorite treatment modality? What gets you the most excited with patient outcomes?
And I think it's always going to be, so I have two and they're going to tie. And obviously I work virtually, so acupuncture is not the answer here. It's clinical nutrition and then botanical medicine. I love them. I think they're amazing. We can get a lot of, it depends on your patient base, right? So my patient base is like tired, exhausted moms. And so we want like we don't have a lot of time. So like, that's not in my patient's avenue of care. So it's like, what are the things that we can like put in our mouth, take a swallow, and then we can move faster and a little quicker. So I tend to use a lot of like clinical nutrition and botanical medicine in my practice consistently to get results, and I love it.
And can you tell us a little bit more about your farm? Just because I'm personally curious. It sounds amazing.
So we have like, I have like everything is micro. We have a micro farm. We have about 10 acres. I'm in southwestern Ontario. It's a little town called Kingsville. So if you go all the way down the 401 and go to the tip of Canada, their most southern point, that's where I live. And so we have 16 different varieties of apples that we grow between the end of August and November. And then we have peaches, pears, Italian plums, and we just planted cherry trees.
That's so amazing.
Yeah. So
And
that's my little farm.
Can everyone come and visit you?
Yes, most certainly. We'll have a retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for kind of your wisdom today. I think these resources that you're helping to provide naturopaths are amazing. So where can people kind of follow up to find you and to find where you've got all these templates listed for them?
Yeah, most certainly. So you can find me over on Instagram. It's at healthyaf_co. So that's where you can find all the templates. If you want to find me in like my doctor version, it's at dr.lauren.nd. But those are the two easiest places to find me and hang out is on Instagram.
Awesome. And do you have any kind of final parting words of wisdom for our viewers?
I think it's progress over perfection. And I know a lot of us, if you are a high performing professional, part of your ethos is a little bit of perfectionism. That's how you've gotten to this place in life. And so it can be really hard to drop some of that. My hope is that if I can help people make things like a bit more beautiful, a bit more that we can consume them a little bit easier, that you're going to be quicker to put strategies out into the world. So lots of us talk about like, I want to launch this online course. I want to like do this thing. But a lot of the times it's like the tech and like what it looks like on the flip side stops a lot of us. And so I want to help put more amazing naturopathic ideas and concepts out into the world faster. And that's what I'm hoping the templates will do. And so we can get like a little bit of progress over perfection going on here.
That's amazing. So I think, you know, again, one of the big kind of reasons we started Exceptional ND is to help, you know, NDs make practice easier, make them more effective, and really support our community. So, you know, this that you're doing now with the templates is such a big support and help for people. So yeah, thank you so much for doing it and for putting yourself out there, because I know it's not easy to kind of start a new thing and to promote within our community. So thank you for doing it. And thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me. And as like, obviously anyone can just reach out if you've got questions, send me a line and we can chat.
Sounds great.
Perfect. Thanks so much.